Today, September the 3rd, 2013, it has just been reported that in the death of Kendrick Johnson, young black African-American male, died at Lowndes County High School, old gymnasium. I pause in respect of Kendrick Johnson, his father Kenneth, his mother Jacqueline, the grandmother, and others who stood with the family in seeking justice, in seeking answers in terms of how this young man died. It was said that he died from a fall into a mat, a wrestling mat. While trying to retrieve a shoe. Be that as it may, today I am at the gravesite of this young man. I am here because I have a responsibility as a black African-American man. My grandmother told me of what takes place here in South Georgia. And so when I first received a call from the father about 11 or 12 o'clock that night on the 11th, Kenneth told me, "George, I want to talk to you tomorrow." I said, "No, I'll be over tonight." And when I went over to his house in one of the back bedrooms, he said to me, "George, well, rather, Brother Rhymes, they killed my son." He never backed up. He never changed. Today we still don't know what happened. But I believe in God's word. We just may be a few inches closer to finding out what happened. As CNN reported and others, the second autopsy revealed that he died from blunt force trauma to the right neck area, dealing with the major artery. And that's the gist of what has been reported. I have been requesting a copy of that autopsy report from the coroner. I did an open records request last week. I went back on Thursday, and of course I went back today, and they gave me a forensic report dated back in May of this year. You know, it seems as if though South Georgia continues to keep the people in a state of ignorance. You'll be hearing more. But right now, I want you to listen to some of the family members as they give an initial report about their feelings, and I will talk a little bit about what others have ignored. This is not just about Kendrick Johnson. It's about a lot more. It's concerning the entire state of Georgia. We can't just focus on Kendrick Johnson. He's worthy to be focused on. Because God, the God of our ancestors, have always saw us through. When it looked like we were as the lost sheep of the tribe of Israel, But I have said it before, and I'm going to continue to say it. What we must understand is where man leaves off. Let me repeat. We must understand where man leaves off and God takes over. And whenever God takes over, whenever the God of our ancestors take over, St. John 8:32 takes over, then look out. You cannot stop the God of our ancestors. And so I'm going to say to you now, Valdosta, Moody Air Force Base commanders, your airman parents have children in the Lowndes County school system. Valdosta State presidents, you have students who must travel here in Valdosta. They could be picked up under a criminal trespass warrant. And no news media will tell the story. You can have a 14-year-old son or daughter handcuffed behind their back and say, or rather accused of striking a teacher. And the police or law enforcement can write it up that that young child struck a teacher. Then the teacher that supposedly was struck give letters, statements, videotape, proof that the teacher was never struck. But she was charged with a felony. And the charges cannot be dropped. You got to go to the bank. You got to a loan company to get some money to fight for your child's freedom. And so to the Kendrick Johnson family, thank God. Thank God, my beautiful brothers and my beautiful family. Thank God for giving you what maybe some of our religious leaders could take from you and your family members. Now, let's hear from the grandmother, and we want to hear from a young lady that were one of the many that were arrested in this quest for justice for their loved one here in Valdosta, Titletown, USA, the football capital of the United States of America, as well as leading the state of Georgia in jail deaths, and yet nobody will report it, from the governor on down to Mayor Gale and to the Chairman Slaughter. In fact, Chairman Slaughter would not even let me stand before the commissioners. I don't even think the commissioners knew that I had been denied the right to stand and speak under our form of government here in the state of Georgia. Enough on that. And now, the rest of the story. This is the Ghetto Free Press in Valdosta, Georgia, on the street of North Ashley Street. We're down here where the Kendrick Johnson family started out under this banner of seeking justice in the death of Kendrick Johnson. And the family, the father Kenneth, the mother Jacqueline, have always believed from day one that something was wrong in what the Lowndes County Sheriff's Department said, what the GBI said, and what everybody said concerning the death of their son. These are family members, and we're going to get, as Paul Harvey would say this morning, or this afternoon, the rest of the story. What's your name?
My name is Barbara English.
And Barbara English, what do you think when we got word that the second autopsy says that it was a blunt force trauma to the neck and to the major artery, and that it was not an accident? What do you say about those findings, number one?
I think I'm glad because the truth come out is always in our belief that something badly had happened to Kendrick in the first place. So we always have believed that something was wrong with what they said about what happened in the first place.
Some people ask the question, Barbara, that how could it be that 100 people involved in the GBI, the Lowndes County Sheriff Department, and other agencies of law enforcement, how would people risk their jobs, etc., etc.? Do you think that is possible, that somebody may have gotten it wrong? How could so many people get it wrong?
I don't know, but the second autopsy saying somebody did get it wrong.
Do you think that now that the GBI may go back to the second autopsy in Florida and ask them, how did you come to a decision different from ours?
I'm sure they are going to try to disrupt what's been said to the second autopsy.
Okay, one other question before we close here. Now that this results have come back, do you feel somewhat kind of vindicated in your movement that something was wrong, regardless of what the religious community may say about the mother and father staying the course, not accepting what law enforcement said? They believed from day one that something was wrong. How can someone be in a mat, turn upside down, and then have the right side of their face swollen unless there was some type of pressure applied to their son's body? Do you agree that somebody in the community may have had it wrong, and did it call y'all much? How did it make y'all feel when certain people to speak out without wanting to travel with you all?
Yeah, well, it was very hurtful not to have the support that we needed, but we carried on anyway because we know God is in control first, and that we stuck together as a family, and we stuck together and we protested till the truth come out.
Now I said it, but I love this so much, Barbara. Thank you so much. But let me ask you this most important question. For me, your other news media might not ask this question, but I got to ask you this question right here. If this autopsy of your family member, this is your grandson, right? If they got this wrong, can you imagine, have you questioned now that maybe there have been other deaths here in Valdosta and Lowndes County that people have trusted in the autopsy process? Do you think there's a possibility that further investigation may be needed?
Yeah, sure. I know Kendrick case was kind of sure. I do think that.
Okay, so in conclusion to everybody that watched this, there's a great possibility. There is a great possibility that if the mother and father had not stood the course and cared enough about their son to continue this fight, then what they said may have stood. But isn't it beautiful that Jesus in St. John 8:32, that ye shall know the truth, and that the truth shall set you free.
Amen.
This is why I believe I don't need no local news media to tell us what the Bible have already said. Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you. And all good wishes, my prayers are with the family, and we cannot keep this stuff hidden. We must let the people in Valdosta County know. Thank you so much. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, the voice of the ghetto. We report what others ignore, and no one can deny that the death of Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old black African American, died in the old gymnasium of Lowndes County High School. This is a family member. What's your name?
Lydia Whitlock.
Lydia, how do you relate to the relationship of Kendrick Johnson? Who is he to you?
That's my nephew.
Okay. I've asked some questions already, so I'm going to ask you something different. Have you gotten the support from the people in the community? How have been the community support been before we found out that, in other words, there were more to this than just an accident has been reported? And we don't want to get back into that, but how have the community embraced you all?
Community embraced my sister and her family, and with their prayers, support, donations, and just Mostly their prayers. Of course, they came out, they donated, drinks and stuff while they're standing out under the tree and holding up signs and things. But the outpour of support from Valdosta has been large in numbers.
That's very good. You've had Al Sharpton come. You had a march here. You had a march in Atlanta. You also went to the Lowndes County High School twice. It's just been a lot of effort on the family's part. Why did you all stay the course? Why didn't you just accept what the GBI and what the local law enforcement said? Why didn't you accept what they said?
Because we know better. We know it wasn't no accident, and we know that somebody had something to do with it. And we also know, kids, especially the parents. A parent gonna know their child, and we just know. Because to come up with an excuse like jumped in and fell, that was the dumbest thing they could come up with.
Another thing too, when family members went to the Lowndes County Courthouse, some of you all were arrested. Do you know the status of those people that were arrested? Can you fill us in on that? Have they gone to court yet?
We've gone to court. We're still here.
But you all fine or still pending?
Still pending.
Still pending. Okay. Anything else you want to say in closing this out?
Just keep my sister and my brother-in-law and the kids in your prayers.
Okay. Now, of all the news media that have covered this, it seems as if, for some reason, the attorney and the family seem to embrace CNN to break this story.
Yes.
We must commend, I guess, CNN.
Yes.
They did come here in mass numbers twice to cover this story. And they out of Atlanta, and we want to commend them. You also got support when you went to Atlanta on the Capitol Courthouse steps. And maybe not that much was publicized down here.
Yes, you have to go outside your house, your own house, to get support. To me, that's a shame. You got to go outside your house instead of getting help from your own people in your own backyard. So,
right. So, in other words,
however the story got out, it's out, and I know you can't really give Valdosta Daily Times, or I really can't give them that much credit.
Okay, so you're saying that South Georgia could have
done better
because it's right here in the community. It's sad that you have to go outside of Valdosta, Lowndes County, and South Georgia in general to get the story told. It seemed like, and I've been saying it for years, I agree with you, is that it seems like they are suppressing and abating the news that everybody should be entitled to under our form of government. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. Also, KYRC, which means Know Your Rights campaign. You have a right here in Valdosta and Lowndes County not to accept, listen, not to accept what they put on you. We had better wake up here in South Georgia. If this does not set the tone for the 21st century of black people and white right people, I don't think anything is going to do it. Now, I thank God for these Christians, the real Christians, who stood like Jesus stood. They didn't go in the backwoods and bury their head in the sand and pretend that they was in heaven. I think they found out something here that we all could take a lesson from. My beautiful sister, thank you so much. Thank you for your courage. And I think you was one of those that were arrested.
I was.
You was.
Yes.
We praying for you, girl. Whatever you do, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It seems as if, though, here in Valdosta, and I'm not downing anybody, but it seemed to me that the women are the ones that are leading the fights on every front. Not only in Valdosta, I went to Waycross, and it was the women. I went to Port St. Joe, Florida, to try to stop a plant by the big industry, and it was stopped. But it was the women that stood up. It's strange that God left this thing in the hands of men, but it seemed like the women are the ones, and the young people. Many of our black preachers and pastors, I'm not criticizing them, but you've seen on the courthouse steps in Waycross with Nathaniel that was shot in Macon, Georgia, with a case you're going to hear about pretty soon. It is the women who are standing up. What is wrong, my beautiful brothers and sisters, with us as men? Where are we? Look, one more. When the 14-year-old girl was handcuffed with her hand behind her back, face down on the floor, charged with a felony for striking an educator, then the educator stated in black and white that this 14-year-old black African-American girl never touched them. Yet, the felony charges have not been dropped. I talked to the mother this morning. They still trying to get the money to defend themselves in a court of law. She was not the aggressor. Two young ladies attacked her. And it's all on video. It's on video. From Pine Grove Middle School. Now you all asking me, Ryan, why are you so involved in what you're doing? Because I retired, I got here in '89, and I retired in '91. And I must admit before God and man that I've never seen a place like this before in my life. And the thing that makes it so sickening here in Valdosta and Lowndes County in the state of Georgia is that when we go to the news media, they won't tell our story. And we got people today, like me, picked up for criminal trespass warning, stopped rather, banned from the high school property. Do you know what that means? I couldn't go to Lowndes County game the other week. They banned me from, so I can't go to no games. Not the governor of the state of Georgia, not the attorney general, nobody in Valdosta, Chairman Slaughter, nor Mayor John Gale, nobody have said boo to me. Yet we have sons and daughters stationed at Moody Air Force Base. We got students at VSU. We have students at Georgia Military College, students at Wiregrass Technical College. We have people that frequent this area. And do you not know that they could have children in the school system and they could fall into a mat and die? And then they'll say it was a tragic accident. Well, before this is over, I believe they're gonna come at me again. And so I want this tape to let you all know that all of us can't go to sleep at the wheel. The Johnson family didn't go to sleep at the wheel. If they had gone to sleep at the wheel, CNN, listen, CNN wouldn't have had a story to tell. Channel 6 wouldn't have had a story to tell. CBS wouldn't have had a story to tell. Nobody would have said nothing. Just another dead Negro that nobody seemed to care about. We had better wake up, y'all. I know a lot of you all saying to me, George, why are you talking like you're talking? I talk like this because I'm from Brooks County. I got the record. And you need to Google Boston GBR. I'm not gonna put it here. Please Google deaths in the Lowndes County Jail. Google deaths in Brooks County. Google the week of terror in May of 1918. Google the death of Earl Evans that was shot in a police car in Quitman and burned to a crisp. Google the Densons and the Wooten that were drowned in a pond over in Quitman. Google Sammy Baker. Google all these deaths. And so I don't blame the Johnson family for not believing what they heard from those professionals. And another thing before I close, y'all gonna get me for this, but I gotta say it because Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth. Personally, unless somebody come in here and investigate, I do not trust the crime lab right here in Valdosta. I don't trust it. I just don't trust it. And I believe a lot of other people say the same thing. Now, is that ugly? No, that's being truthful. And as soon as somebody come in and clean up something, help us to rebuild the image of our town, of our metro city. And we need somebody in this nation to stand up for what is right and just outside of the four walls of your church, out of your mosque, out of your synagogue, out of your temple. Jesus just didn't stay inside of no church, y'all. I don't care what you say. And remember, we are not who we claim to be, but who we prove ourselves to be over a given period of time. And when truth comes into the minds of those that seek truth, then all falsehood must vanish, and falsehood is forever a vanishing thing. Once again, I started this Ghetto Free Press when I found out that our stories were not being told. I repeat, our stories were not being told. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. And we can go to church all we want. And we can talk about how good God is. But until we do what God demanded of us, and that is to have oversee over what He produced, we will always be the laughing stock of the world. Bye-bye. We gone.